Hi, this is Nishta from Scholar Strategy, and this is the last and final part of our mini course on MBA planning. In the previous two parts, we saw how can you make the decision of whether you should go for an MBA or not, and in the second part, we discussed where should you do an MBA from, whether India or abroad. So let's get on with today's part, because today we are going to discuss how do you build an excellent and winning profile for an MBA admission. Advice in this video may be more relevant for study abroad applications, but if you're targeting the B schools in India, then you need to of course ace their particular exams like CAT, XAT, etc. Apart from the good scores, then you can figure out how to crack the interviews and the discussion rounds if there are any. But for MBA applications abroad, they need a more rigorous applications. So a lot of this advice would be highly applicable there, but rest assured, if you follow the advice in this video, then you will not only have a very good profile for MBA applications, but all the things that you do here would make you get that 1000x more benefit from your MBA, even if you do it from India. So let's get started. So when we say that MBA needs good work experience, what does that really mean? What does good work experience mean for you? And when we say that MBA's applications also look at extracurricular activities, is it like good enough to just do a volunteer at any NGO, or do I need specific kind of extracurricular experience? So all these are very legit questions, and the advice that we are going to follow in this video will help you determine exactly what kind of work experience, what kind of extracurricular experience will give you the maximum leverage in your applications. Now, to understand how can I build my profile if I want to target top schools, and that's what I'm advising, right? If you want to do an MBA, you should do it from a very good schools. So let us understand what those schools are looking for, and then we can build a profile that will kind of fit those buckets or the checklists that they have, and that will maximize our chances of getting admitted into those top programs. So there are 5 things that admission committee in these good B schools are looking for. Number 1 is the diversity factor. Okay, you have heard this again and again, but probably you have not thought of it like this. When we say diversity, we start thinking of, okay, maybe we are thinking from like multiple countries or different religions or even LGBT community or different genders. But think of diversity also in terms of the industry, right? Now you cannot change your racial or ethnic or religious profile. That's who you are. You can't change that, and maybe some of you will fit into that diversity bucket, some of you will not fit into it. We can't do much about it, but what you can control is determining what kind of experience will help you check this diversity bucket. And one of the ways to do it is if you can come from an industry or a sector or the sort of work experience that is underrepresented, that very few people have, then that gives you a differentiating advantage in your applications. So for example, if you look, Harvard usually always has someone from Army or Navy in their classrooms. Why is that? Because there are obviously very few applicants coming from Army or military or Navy applying to the MBA program. And what do these people bring into the classroom is a different mindset. When an Army personnel tells you that, like, you know, in that critical conflict situation, this is how he led the troops or how he did the decision making, that is such a good experience to get from a classmate, right? You can't get that easily. And at least US schools and the top schools anywhere do put a lot of value on this kind of diverse learning in the classrooms. So if they think that your profile is a very rare one, then you will automatically have an advantage. They would want someone like you. So when you're thinking of which company, which industry should I work in, if you can pick a underrepresented sector to work with, then that will increase your chances of getting in. And sometimes it could be just not underrepresented, but a sector which is highly competitive and has very few seats, like PE and VC folks, right? So if anybody is coming from those sectors, they usually are at a more advantage than somebody like an Indian IT male, because there are so many candidates from IT industry, and on top of it, if you're a male, then you really are not checking any sort of diversity buckets, and that's what makes it very, very difficult for Indian candidates to crack top schools. So think of how can I make myself stand a little apart and bring a different perspective into the classroom. Next thing the B schools are looking for are people from top employers in any sector. So it doesn't matter if you're coming from IT or technology background, but then make sure that you are working with the top players in that sector, like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon. These will put you at a higher pedestal than somebody coming from a company like TCS, Wipro, etc. So the idea here is that you should have worked with the top players in that domain. Why does it matter? Because B schools want to have obviously this solid network with the top employers worldwide. So if they are constantly getting influx of candidates from these top employers, that means like, they have these good established connections with them, and obviously someone is switching industry, so some other people would go and want to join these companies as well. So it just helps them build this sort of good tangible network. And also when they become the favorable choice from candidates from Google or something, it helps improve in their ranking, because they are seen as a more premier school that good people from industry want to join. So if you have the option, you should try to crack the top companies in your sector. If you're in consulting, if you're coming from companies like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, etc., you have very, very high chances of getting into a top school, because those like places would love to have someone from McKinsey in their classroom, because it adds so much to the classroom discussion. So I'm sure you're getting my point. If you're coming from banks, target like Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, etc. If you're coming from technology, then technology companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple will cut the bill for you. So try to work with the top employers in your field. Now I know it sounds ironic because some of you might be targeting these companies and that's why you're doing an MBA, but if you can already be coming from these top employers in your sector, then that will definitely increase the chances of doing an MBA. Thirdly, these B schools are looking for people with great leadership profiles, because remember, B school is also a business at the end of the day. They are making money by admitting good people, and also one of their top income sources is the endowment fund. And a fun fact here, Harvard has an endowment fund of $53 billion. Just imagine, right? So universities rely a lot on funding from their alumni, and that obviously increases if their alumni are successful. So what they want is the people they are admitting into the MBA classroom tomorrow, they want them to go and conquer the world after graduation. Like they want the leaders of tomorrow to be graduating from Harvard, from Stanford, so that when those people are super successful, they can give back to their alma mater and they can give more funding back to the university. So think of it like they are also a business. They are trying to build their profiles and they want cream of the crop people to be working there. So they look for great potential, success people who has a lot of potential for success. So if you have leadership experience, if you have done projects which show a lot of ownership, you have gone out of your way to get something done, you have achieved hard things which very few people are able to achieve, then that increases the odds of your getting accepted into this program. And as I said, the reason is simple, because they think that you are in top 1% of the performers of this company. That means you're really a hard worker, you're going to put a lot of work in your career and you're going to achieve something special tomorrow, and they want to be a part of your successful journey later on. So they are more likely to admit you that way. So it's very important that irrespective of what company, what industry you are working on, try to do harder projects, try to go that extra step that your other teammates are not willing to make. So in your team, take up extra tasks, take more ownership, be proactive, get promoted faster, and things like these will help you obviously get strong LORs also, because your manager is then likely to write down all these things, and your resume will show like frequent promotions, more ownership, the kind of projects you would talk about in your essays would be more substantial. All these things are visible to the admission committee, and they are then likely to admit you more than somebody doing those average kind of projects and just getting by in the workplace. They don't want those people. Then they are looking for people who bring that extra dimension into the classroom. So they want multi-dimensional profiles, not someone who's just nerdy or who's reading the book all the time, not somebody who's extremely theoretical. They want people who are fun to interact with, who get along with other people, because remember, the kind of careers you look for after MBA involves a lot of teamwork, and even the MBA course projects involve a lot of teamwork. So are you a likable person? Do people like working with you? Are you able to get along with people from different ethnicities, different backgrounds? That makes you a good candidate. So remember, and this can shine through your extracurricular sports or other kind of projects. So what do you do outside work? What do you do outside your academic work shows you what kind of a person you are in your day-to-day life. So to nail this, basically you want to have some good solid activities. You should have pursued your passions. You should have done something interesting apart from work. So it could be like, maybe you started a venture of your own, or you started a club somewhere and you grew it to a considerable size, or you achieved something super exciting in one of the sports or other kind of activities. So these things show that you enjoy other things in life as well. You can talk interesting stuff outside work as well, and basically you are the person I would like to hang out with apart from my work. So yes, pay attention to these activities and do something interesting. Add that something extra on your resume, which will make them feel that, okay, this is not just a go-getter person, but also somebody fun, somebody personable, and somebody who's more likely to rise to higher levels in their career. Because remember, ultimately people promote people, and if you're a likable person, then it's more likely that your managers would fight for you, would fight for your promotion, and you would see more activity in your career than somebody who is quiet, who is too introverted, and who does not like showing up the work. So you will have more chances of success, and MBA schools definitely value those kind of people. By the way, I'm not saying that shy or introverted people cannot do these things. Some of the most famous musicians, famous artists are people who are introverted, but they still have done these very, very interesting activities. So you can be that interesting person irrespective of whether you're introverted or extroverted. So the point is not about that. The point is, have you done enough interesting thing outside work and outside your academic life? Lastly, MBA schools talk a lot about global opportunities, global careers, global exposure. So if you want to improve your chances of getting accepted into top schools, then look into getting some global exposure. Maybe you can request your employer to give you a global work opportunity. Maybe you can travel on site to a client location and get some exposure there, or going to conferences, or if you're a student doing some international internship kind of thing, because that would give you an ability to interact with people outside your community, talking to people from different cultural backgrounds, and you can talk about those things in your essays. And that is something that US and Europe schools value a lot. They value people having that appreciation for diversity, tolerance for different cultures, and who are more likely to succeed in global kind of careers. Because remember, if you are working with organizations like these top banks and management consulting firms, you will have to travel a lot. You might even have to work from different locations, different continents, and you will be dealing all the time with people who are thinking very differently from you. So are you someone who is able to do that and who can lead in a workplace that is changing constantly? So show that cultural appreciation and your ability to work with different kind of people through these global projects. So to summarize, here's a quick checklist how you can improve your profile, work in sectors which are rarer and which see less competitions in MBA applications, try to work with top employers in your industry, and then take on leadership positions, take that extra onus in work and deliver something extra. Then have good solid extracurricular activities which show that you are a multi-dimensional person and not just fully caged into your academic and work responsibilities. And lastly, if you can show some kind of global exposure and an understanding of different cultural and ethnicities, then that can also give you an advantage. So do these few things in next couple of years to build up even more stronger profile for your MBA applications. But let me put a word of caution here. While we are talking all these things, this will help build your profile or resume for MBA applications. Remember that you should do these things only if they truly align with you. And if you do them well, then irrespective of whether you crack that B school or not, I'm sure you would benefit so much from this experience that you would continue in your career growth whether B school happens or not. So I do believe that these things are great next steps for you to see or maximize your career growth. And if MBA is meant to happen, this will help you in getting a better B school for sure. But at the end of the day, the goal is to build a life, not just a resume, right? So don't do activities just for the sake of resume, especially the activities which you are not enjoying. So don't be part of Toastmasters Club just to build it on resume. Maybe pick something which you truly enjoy because you are more likely to succeed and shine in there. So even if it's a very bizarre activity that you enjoy, go for it, because if you do very well in that, you can talk about that in your essays. You don't have to pick something like Toastmasters or like triathlons or something. So pick something that you truly enjoy. So look into all these 5 profile building steps, but think of how you can adopt it so that you enjoy it for yourself. So the goal is, remember, please build a life, please build an interesting, successful career. If it's to happen through an MBA, great. Even if it's not, that's okay. Do things that you wouldn't regret later on. So with that, we have reached the end of our mini course on MBA planning. In all these 3 parts, hopefully it has given you enough clarity on how to decide on the question of MBA or not, and what location would make more sense for you, and lastly how you can build a winning profile to get into a top B school, because I do believe if you want to do MBA, do it from a very, very good school, and because that can be truly a life changing experience. I've posted about my MBA experiences in other videos, so feel free to check them out. Stay subscribed on this channel. We will have more courses and more information, not just MBA but other courses also coming soon. So see you in next time. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave us a comment below. Thank you. Bye-bye.